person that inspired me in life was my father. My father was in the military and he retired from the military. He was a drill sergeant and he instilled in me to do hard work. He also was a plasterer, hard carrier, worked very hard, and he instilled in me to work hard and be honest in whatever I do. Also, I had other mentors along the way, such as Jack Kelly, the founder of the African American Museum here. He was a mentor of mine out at Fresno State, and he had a program called the Law Enforcement Training Project.
I think my greatest mentor was my mother. We were very poor, but my mother was very giving. She was very loving and kind. And I think that set up a precedence in me to be a giving, kind, loving kind of person.
My parents. I will forever be grateful that they were my parents. We lived in Oklahoma. My dad went to Langston, and my mom went to Langston also. They come from farming background, but it was always, education was highly important, and their life was to work and make sure that my brothers and I went to school.
There were a number of people in his life that he admired and thought highly of. One of the first African-American farmers in Clovis was a Mr. Thornton. And he was very impressed with him. He worked on his farm growing up. And he was impressed with Peggy Boss, who was the mayor of Clovis. He took a great deal of joy in having the opportunity to be around some of the elders in Fresno. He lived in Clovis, but he would come to church in Fresno sometimes, take the bus all the way from Clovis into Fresno.
His pastor from St. Louis, Missouri, whose name was Bishop P.L. Scott, was very, very instrumental in his life. And my dad often talked to him. He often visited Fresno. Him and my dad had a very close relationship, so I know that was the #1 mentor in his life, and his kind of the thing too of making sure that God was always first. My dad, that was a very strong thing with him, that God was always first, and then it was important to him to have a mentor and to always touch bases with his mentor so he could stay on point, not get off track.
I think it goes back to my parents, Will Sr., Catherine Scott, and also my grandfather, Amos Scott. I think those was initial motivators. But I think that the thing that kept me on track, was things that they taught me. My mother, matter of fact, she taught me how to read at the age of 3 using the King James Version. So she kind of sold me on the 10th commandment. So that's what, kind of motivated me and I guess started me out, really.
I think I've always wanted to work in sort of like the social work or counseling field. My father was the first social worker in the family. If you use that as an example, our home was opened up to anyone that was coming from Arkansas that were family or friends to live with. I have a sister, 3 sisters in fact, who have degrees in social work. And then my last mentor is Jean Calabrese, the former head counselor at Fresno High. She was the one that trained me and set me along the way so that I would become head counselor at Fresno High, be there to support my students.
I have to give a lot of credit to the teachers that I had growing up. My gift from God is numbers, and a lot of the teachers along the way really encouraged me in that area. Teachers, friends. I guess the classical example is when I first started learning about numbers. I had trouble with fractions, and my brother came along, tried to get me to understand what a fraction really meant. Grabbed a pie and cut it up in 8 pieces and explained to me what a 4th was and what an 1/8 was, and asked me which one I wanted. And obviously I wanted the 4th rather than an 1/8. And at that point it clicked.
He was very, very inspired by by quotes from other people. And he would say, he actually even quoted things from Shakespeare, you know, things like that, remember? Because we were really amazed by that he remembered all of those different sayings, and it was really, really inspirational. So, but I think as far as currently, or like people now that he, you know, lived with, would be, of course, Pauline. I mean, he would tell you that. He would say his wife, his family, yes, supporter, you know, people that were here with him, you know. I mean, that was the ones he really leaned on.
That was it.
Was his mom, our mom, Pauline.
And then Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Thank God he got to see Barack Obama be elected.
Yes, I know.
You know
he
what I
loved
mean?
that.
Oh, man.
He loved that.
He was ecstatic.
Yes.
He cried all night.
It's it's a lot of people. You know, it's way more than one person. There isn't just one mentor, but I can say that my grandmother was an important part of making sure that I was able to take as much as I possibly can from as many people as I possibly can. You know, it's an older lady raising a young man. She knew that there was going to be some things that she couldn't show me, rather they be sports or just the little things you want to teach a young man. And she made sure that I had role models around me, rather they be from church or uncles or just her friends, to kind of give me those investments. I can remember going fishing with people that my grandmother trusted, and just the lessons that I got from a lot of different people kind of stuck with me.
Definitely, you know, still very connected spiritually. And then I think for me, I've kept the same circle of friends around me. I've never changed who my friends have been. You know, we've bumped heads and we've argued, we've had great times, but I've kept the same circle of friends because they don't allow you to become somebody who you're not. You know, because they've known you since, you know, we running around Fresno, you know, nappy head, dirty, and just having fun in the city, to now, you know, being a grown man and doing events and promoting and stuff and singing. They don't allow you to change who you are because of what you've done.
I would say my mom more than anything. As a young kid, she always would encourage me to do the best that I could be. She would come on and tell me when she see that I was trying to do something, that it's okay if I try to be president and end up being vice president. Just try to be the best that you can be. And she kept pushing me in that area. And as I came through life, I got a lot of other support in different ways that supported what my mom was telling me way back when.
Oh, my sister, Dr. Cora Adams. She worked at Fresno State, and she stayed with me the whole way. When I decided to return here to get my master's in social work, she was there to support me all the way. And one of the things that sticks in my mind with her was like, it's okay to get the degree, but you also need to get back to your community and you need to get involved. And that's what I've been doing.
When I came to California, it was awakening for me, because now that, like in Oklahoma, there was 3 cultures that I knew. There was black, white, and Indian. When I come to California, all those people I saw in my world geography, there they were. But I was in the 6th grade, and I think the lady that I had was Caucasian, Mrs. Brown. I think she's the one really kind of opened my eyes, because she saw that I began to act like the kids in the class, cutting up. And she told me, she said, you know, they're watching you. What you do, they're doing it. You know, and she told me all these things. She said that if you was to straighten up and, you know, and to get your books, she said, it doesn't mean why you couldn't be president of the United States.
He believed in God, and he was a devoted Christian. He found a great deal of people who did things that made him very proud of them. And he had a lot of hope for and belief in God. And God was his shining light.
Mom and Dad, they literally, Their life goal was us, the three of us. And we didn't disappoint them.
I think life's journey just kind of kept me on track. I think life's journey is the position that you're perhaps supposed to follow. And I've always believed that my life was guided by God. And even to the people that I met, the things that I did, and experienced in life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all brought me back to what I'm doing now.
I worked very hard. I went to the police Olympics. I used to lift weights. I used to run and take care of my body. And I felt that if you had a strong body, you had a strong mind.
I think for me, mostly well, actually it's people who have the most effect on me would definitely have to be my family. My mother, my grandparents, my dad. And just, really having the guidance when I grew up, and they kind of kept me sheltered when I grew up. I wasn't really able to do too much. In high school, I didn't go to no dances till my senior year in high school. Like my mom she always knew it was something that had to keep me away from just being around everybody at such a young age. So I would definitely have to give it to my family, just, always keeping me covered in prayer and keeping me in church and just trying to keep me focused and training me as I grew up.
He would address racism when it showed its ugly head. In this city, he would address it aggressively. He would address it,
That's true.
And the thing about the Advocate, how the Advocate got started, he was a reporter for a Bakersfield newspaper outlet here, and he got arrested while covering a story of police brutality. And the police arrested him, the city of Fresno.
Yeah.
He sued the police department, and with the lawsuit, with the money he won,
That's how he started the
that's
paper.
how he bought the paper and started the paper. Dad was like the Martin Luther King of the Valley at one point.
Right.
Like Cesar Chavez, who was a good friend of his.
He was able to love people in spite of how he was treated in different situations. He still showed love for people. He still showed that he cared about what happened, and he was able to do that, and it's always good to see people that can come through no matter what they've gone through, no matter how people treat them, they're able to still move forward.
I never realized it was a plan until I got ready to retire from my position as a principal in the Elk Grove School District and started to wonder, now, what in the world are you going to do? You're old enough to retire. You're too young to do nothing. So what are you going to do? Thus came forth Grandma's House, an after-school tutoring program. As I began to think about the vision and work through it, then I realized that it was greater than me. After that, I began to understand that that was part of my entire destiny. Grandma's House was a part of it. And having that in view, I realized that it was not necessarily mine to do, but if it was God's vision, it would come to pass. I didn't have to worry about the bills. I didn't have to worry about all the kinds of things you worry about. If he said it, he would do it.
I would say that as you look at Elvie, his belief was that if God gives me strength, I can do it. And it was his faith that he built upon. And it was his belief in God that really pushed him forward and enabled him to do many of the things that he did. And he instilled that same love and kindness in his family.
Back in the 50s, that I can remember, there was a lot of racial tension, I feel like still in Fresno. And coming from back east, born in Mississippi, and listening to my dad's stories from that, then moving on, migrating on to St. Louis, Missouri, then coming to Los Angeles, he was told not to even come to Fresno, that was probably not the best place to come. So I saw him go through a lot of racial discrimination, but still with very focused, a person that just was able to seem like endure hardship because he had been through so much in the South and had overcome and had been very successful. So very strong, confident person. That was one thing that I always saw in my dad, that if he put his mind to something, he was able to do it and accomplish it.
And then, like it says, that God really rewards you in certain ways. He brings people into your life, that gives you strength, to go on. Sometimes that you're doing things that you think is good, is that you find yourself sometime alone. And then you get a telephone call and you find out you're not alone, that there are other people out there with the same mission, with the same spirit that's in them. So it really, it motivates you to keep going.
It's a challenge is being responsible for someone else's life. And at a very young age, I got custody of my nieces and nephews at a time where I just felt like my hard work was paying off. I had been a pretty good kid, and I got a pretty good job, and I was young, and I was so ready to enjoy that freedom. And I got a call from my grandmother at the time, and she told me that my nieces and nephews were in foster care, and she wanted me to go get them. And I was like, well, where do you want me to take them? Sure, I'll drop them off wherever you want. Anything. I'm thinking my grandma's getting ready to do the same thing for other kids that she did for me, but her intentions were for me to go get them and keep them myself. And I had tickets to a game, I had plans for the weekend, and so that was a challenge. It was a challenge that I really wasn't ready to accept, and kind of saying, I don't want no kids. I'm a 21-year-old single fireman with one of the coolest, sexiest jobs on the face of the planet. I got 2 roommates that we all work, and we got plans. I ain't got time for this. And she simply said, well, think about where would you be if I thought like that. She just went and got her biggest skillet and fried up some humility and slapped me with it. And I love her for it today, because I look back and as hard as a decision that was, it's kind of really made a difference of where I'm at today.
2 things. My godfather told me, the one thing you got to understand about the music business is everything is hurry up and wait. They rush you to do all this stuff. They rush you. And then when you get it done, now you're sitting and waiting for the next phase to take place. And they always doesn't happen overnight. It could take 4 or 5 years, but they've rushed you to the point to where you're so excited and then nothing happens. So hurry up and wait was definitely something I had to understand. And I think learning to embrace struggle in the business that's what you got to do. Because nobody in the music business or in anything, in any type of profession, nothing happens to those who are successful overnight. Everybody has gone through a struggle. Everybody goes through different things. And I've definitely had to embrace my struggle. And it's allowed me to be able to become the man I am, to deal with different things. And I know how, to deal with stuff because I've struggled for so long. Follow your dreams. Don't let people's no stop you from pursuing your dreams. Because I think with anybody, again, who's successful at any field, any profession, I guarantee you everybody's heard no at one point. I don't know how long it takes, but don't let no be your end factor. Know how to push through, know how to, like I say, embrace struggle. Know how to chase your dreams, even if you got to chase it by yourself. People tend to go down the same path as somebody else went, but you don't know what they went through on that path. So don't be afraid to chase your own path. Don't be afraid to have your own goals and your own visions. And if it don't work out the first time, don't be afraid to try it again.
Knowledge is the key. It's important that our youth of today are aware of everything that's happening in the environment, in the world. it's important that they're in a position to make change, that they can vote and have a viable career.
Regardless of the cost, do what is right within the eyesight of God. And when I speak of cost, I'm not necessarily speaking of money. You have a whole lot of resources, each individual. You got time, you got talents, and you got money. Just do with those things like God has asked you to do. The basic premises is keep God first, other people, then yourself. And what's going on in the world today is me, quote unquote, has gotten in first place in a lot of situations. But basically, the basic principle is keeping God first and treating other people like you want to be treated. If we can do that, all the issues that we got going on today, they would begin to disappear.
There's nothing new under the sun. That's according to Scripture. So things that are here, I think for young people, that if you want, you have to have money because you need to give Caesar what is due Caesar. So it means you have to pay taxes. You have to have money to live. Is to take the knowledge and also the advancement that we have here, adapt it, and put your twist on it, in order to make some money, and also to serve your fellow man. Seek education. It's there, with the internet and with all the other sophisticated technology. There's no reason why you shouldn't know that you shouldn't be educated.
Money may seem important and be important, and people may tell you that that's the most important thing, but he always told me that your character and your integrity is what will make you, and people will speak about that later on in life. They won't talk too much about your money or what you have, but they will speak to your integrity and your character.
My encouragement to the young generation of this day is to work hard, be honest, study. I'm 65 years old. I wake up in the morning reading. I go to bed at night reading. I study all the time. And whatever you want to do and whatever you want to be, pursue it, and you could do it.
Don't let anyone discourage you from what you want, and go to school. You don't have to finish school if there's some right away, but always have a plan that you have that goal to reach. And a lot of people, if you talk to some people that are around you, they did not get their degree in 4 years. They had things along the way that interfered, but they never gave up.
The first is, to whom much is given, much is required. I think of the theme also that says it takes a village to raise a child. That's our motto when it comes to working with the children. We often don't realize that often it takes more than just the parents to get our children where they need to be. Sometimes the parents don't have all the resources that they need, but the village has the resources. The village has to come to the forefront and realize that the children belong to all of us, not just the parents, when it comes to helping those kids to be successful, and to realize that those kids will come back to bless that community, or bless that village, or bless that city, or to bless the world as they progress and become who they're supposed to be.
To keep on keeping on. That's one thing he did used to say. Keep on keeping on. Didn't he say that? And what that really meant was, don't let circumstances, don't let obstacles, don't let things that are temporary stop you from what God's purpose is for you.
I'm humbled and I feel great that someone recognized the things that I do and the things that I will continue to do to say, hey, here's a person that we can pass the torch on to. And part of my competitive nature is you put the baton in my hand, I'm gonna run my butt off with it. And so that's the goal. I don't know what all is expected of me yet, but I'm looking forward to the competition. And it's not the person I'm competing against, it's just the any challenge that comes with being the that carries the torch. I'm looking forward to whatever hill is in front of me, whatever challenge that's in front of me, whatever the organization needs help with. Whenever they let me know, I'm looking forward to that challenge.